Hey guys, I'm Megan.
And I'm Stephanie. And we are
Barn Besties
with
Farm Fresh advice
for you. So we are here to impart the knowledge that we have learned over the years of building and running barns so that you guys don't have to have the problems and the misery and the mistakes that we made. Hope you enjoy our videos. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, right?
Right, and we hope to save you time and money on your new adventures.
Absolutely.
Hey guys, I'm Megan with Barn Besties with Farm Fresh Advice, and I am here with my farrier, Aaron Serstad of Serstad Forge. How's it going, Aaron?
Good, yourself?
Great. Are you pumped?
Yes.
You get to talk to the Barn Besties.
Beautiful day to do that.
It's a terrible day. It is a horrible day. It is rainy and nasty, and he's here trimming our horses. And so is his assistant, Nate. And this is our lovely horse. So, Aaron, tell me about yourself. How did you get into horses and your career?
Let's see. I've been around horses most of my life. I wasn't smart enough to get into the trades, I didn't think. So I tried them out, and it just didn't work very well. So my pipe dream was to be a vet. Wasn't smart enough for that either. So this was the next best thing.
Is being a farrier.
And I love what I do. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
So I get to work with animals that I love every single day. So I'm grateful for that.
And you used to ride?
I did.
Or do you still ride?
No, I'm more of a grocery store these days.
What is that?
I just feed my horses.
There's nothing wrong with that. So how did becoming a farrier interest you? Like, was there a person? Did you see a school? Did you go?
I saw a couple of different schools.
Okay.
We had Amish farriers when I was younger, so I mean, like, that really wasn't. But we it's just everything. It's intriguing to me because it's something that it's a learning process every single day. I've been shoeing horses for almost 20 years.
And you're still learning.
And I'm still learning.
Do you hear that, guys? He's still learning.
So I'm grateful for that.
And you were also, and correct me, you were the president of the Wisconsin Farrier. Yep. Can you tell me the exact organization? Because I don't know, and probably our viewers don't know.
I was president of the Wisconsin Farriers Association for 4 years. So that's a group of farriers that have gotten together, and we're hosting clinics, they are hosting clinics, and competitions and certifications. So I mean, like, and the certifications are through the American Farriers standards. And
that's continuing education. So even though you have a very successful business, how long have you been a farrier? Like, when did you start?
Started in 2004. Started shoeing for other people.
Wow. So that is 20 years, if I can count right.
Yeah.
That's
quiet.
That's a long.
The gray hair proves it.
That's a long time. But you think about that. So 16 years ago, you became president, and you're still learning and still promoting education. I think that's really important to understand for everyone, is that we are all learning no matter what professional you are, because I feel the same way as being a trainer. And so with your business, you're in Wisconsin.
Yep. And
do people come to you, or do you go to people?
I usually go to them. It's just easier to because they got a mobile toolbox basically, so it's easier to move that around than load horses up and
come to you, right? And so, are these boarding barns? Are they training barns? Are they private barns? Or are they all of them?
All of them.
All of them. And you go to multiple barns a day.
Yep.
Addie needed his time. Thank you, Addie.
Yep.
So all the time you're going to multiple barns, and you're doing the scheduling. You're a small business owner. You're doing the scheduling, correct? You're doing the paperwork.
Yep.
You're doing the accounting, the PR. Yeah, it's a lot of stress, right?
Yeah, we're a one-man band.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. That's one of the things that's the hardest is, a lot of people complain about communication with their farriers.
It's hard.
I tell people all the time, when my truck is stopped, I'm at a barn shoeing horses, and it's not like I can tell my clients, can you hold on for about an hour while I catch up on these messages? you know,
or that client is paying you to work on their horse and you can't be interrupted.
Correct.
Right. And then you also have a family, right?
Correct.
Do you have a life?
No, what?
So answering, like, do you have time set aside that
you try to
answer?
You try to, you know, it's usually in between stops. I try to take about a half hour every day if you can.
And do you get a break for yourself? Like, do you get lunch?
When I get home.
When you get home. So people, remember that. Be kind to your farrier. He's working his tail off for you.
Well, I mean, like, you know, and driving down the road, looking at your planner and text messaging at the same time is always a great idea as well.
No, I don't think so. I want you to come to my farm tomorrow and next year and the year after. So I'm selfish, so don't do that to him, please. Please don't do that. That's not cool. And then going back to your business, you also have assistants, right? You're training, you're mentoring other up-and-coming farriers.
Yes.
How many do you have? That's fantastic. At any given time. I know it's always...
Currently right now I have 3.
That's wow.
But I'm just trying to return the favor. Because I mean, like, I'm not saying that I'm God's gift to horseshoeing by any means, because I'm not. But everything I know, I've learned from somebody else. And I'm trying to pass that along. It's just like, I'd like to see the bar, the skill level of horseshoers. It's pretty low in Wisconsin. It needs to be elevated.
Awesome. I think that's awesome that you are doing it. Like, instead of talking about it, you're actually making that happen. And I think that's your legacy. I think that's...
it's beautiful. It's been a lot of fun watching these guys grow. They're just like and there's a couple of apprentices that already maintained their or acquired their CF before they worked with me for too long. But I'm pretty proud of the fact that everybody that's been in my truck is now a certified farrier and currently working on their journeymans. So.
How amazing. So anyone who's listening and you're looking for a mentor, and maybe Aaron has time, or maybe he has time in the future, you can get a hold of him. And now taking a step back, because with Barn Besties, we're talking about barns. And so you're going to facilities that have already been built. And do they supply you with an area? Like, how does that work? And scheduling, and is it, you know, what is that like? Tell me, like, what a day in the life of Aaron is like.
Well, you know, it just depends on the situation. I mean, like 90% of it is, like, as you can see with Lindenhof. I mean, like, I'm really grateful that you guys actually have a designated area. It's flat, it's lit. You know, it's easy accessible. I don't have to walk 500 yards to get to my truck. And the horses stand well. So I mean, like, that just that little bit of common decency goes a long ways. You'd be surprised what a person would put up with if that was there.
Right.
So,
well, I don't think you should put up with anything. I mean, this is also the reason for Barn Besties, is we want to share, like, hey, we have amazing support for our horses. How can we make life easy for them? You know, so maybe like the horse is in the stall.
Yep.
The horse has been in the stall for a couple hours, doesn't have mud on it, hopefully. What else? The horse is brushed. Are owners typically there, or is it mainly barn owners, or is it like in this facility, it's the trainer?
It depends on the situation. I require somebody to be there.
Okay.
Just because I know, I actually have a horseshoeing friend that was working by himself at a barn, and he got kicked. And anyway, ended up tearing his ACL. He couldn't walk to his truck. Somebody found him 4 hours later.
Oh,
so I mean, it's one of those deals. I require somebody to be there just in case.
It can be dangerous.
Oh, 100%.
So, you know,
it's
be
like,
safe.
just use common sense.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it goes a long ways. It just always have, anyway, but I can go off.
Yeah, it's okay. And then the horses should have manners. Let's talk about that. Yeah. Ideally, you prefer them in the cross ties, correct? Or do you prefer someone holding them?
It depends. They're all individuals. I don't mind either way.
Okay.
So I am. As long as they stand there and they're comfortable and they're decent.
Yep.
That's my biggest priority.
And I think taking a step back, talking about communication, when we first started working together, we didn't know each other. I had I think a couple of farriers, and each farrier, in my opinion, is totally different. Some don't want the owner to hold it all. Others want the owner there. Sedation versus not sedated, all of those topics. And what we did is we talked about how our working relationship is going to be. Do you appreciate that when the owner, the trainer, the barn owner, instead of you bringing it to them, do you appreciate it when someone like me says, Erin, how do you like to be worked with? Like, how do you want
100%.
this? 100%. Yeah.
Communication, honesty is a big one. Don't lie. It's not worth it.
No.
That's when people start getting hurt. Because I mean, like, you tell somebody that your horse does certain things and they think it does, and they make that mistake, and the next thing you know, there's an injury.
You're hurt. Yeah. Right. So like if it bites, if it kicks, I have a horse that's very well behaved, and then she started to not because she was testing the boundaries. So I think for several months I stood with her, and I think we're just starting to wean that off. But that's like Erin has to say to me, Megan, where are you? I need you to hold this horse.
Right.
But also when you start working with a new farrier, make sure you have that communication, but then also communicate and don't be defensive, right? You know, just say it's okay. It's not a reflection on your training. It's just, this is where this horse is at, and hold them. Help your farrier out.
Right. No, I couldn't have said it any better. That communicate. This is a team effort. It's not just me. It's not just you. It's not just the vet. It's all of us together.
Rats. I thought it was all about me. Just kidding. But also, that is a great point you put out. Let's talk about vet, farrier, trainer, and you also have owners, right? So in my facility, it's mainly my farrier and vet communicate with myself as the trainer. My clients prefer for me to organize that, and I prefer a straight line of communication. And so I have found farriers and vets struggle in their communication, and I think you found that in your. We don't have to go into situations, but you found that, right? And what do you suggest as a farrier's point of view, how an owner, a trainer, a vet should approach you, you know, about the horse? So that way, and obviously you are one farrier, and each farrier is different, but like from the mind of a farrier, how should we be approaching you on a situation? And it doesn't matter what it is. Let's say it's a lameness. Let's say it's an abscess, whatever. It could be a training problem. How should I approach you?
Well, I'll tell you right now, the worst thing you can do is walk up and be like, you, say the word you need to do this. You need to do that.
Okay.
Instead of we have an issue.
Right.
We need to address. We need to talk about this.
Awesome.
You know, it's manure rolls downhill.
Right.
And the horseshoer is usually the farrier is usually on the bottom of that totem pole, which is understandable, whatever. So everything comes down to basically being the horseshoer's fault instead of talking about how can we fix this? How can we move things forward? And I'm not saying it doesn't happen.
Right.
Because it does happen.
Right.
But 90% of the time, like when a horse forges, it's because of the rider. I mean, like when a horse, I can just go off on that. But it's that communication, once again, needs to be there. That common decency needs to be there. I mean, and look at people, as individuals, instead of demoralizing. I can't stand arrogance.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, because we are a team, and you love horses, right? This is why you're doing this, and you're a huge. The only reason I know Erin is because I was having a situation, and luckily we were connected, and we were upfront with each other on like how we're going to work with each other, what I liked, what he liked, what, you know, and we actually just this year had a situation with one of my competition horses, and I was like, hey, Erin, I think it's in my head, but I want to tell you, I'm concerned about this leg, and I would like your opinion on it. And I'm having Marie out, and I would like, who's the vet? I would like the two of you to communicate. And then he came and watched me ride, and I said, this is what I'm feeling at this moment. What do you think? You know, because his opinion is very valuable, especially when I might be getting in my head, right? and I'm pretty clear about that. Like, it may be a rider issue, it may be a training issue, and then I really compartmentalize. I say, I rely on him to tell me, is this a farrier issue? Do you like this horse's feet, or do we need to make changes, or is this horse? I mean, that's another valuable point, in that a lot of times we as riders, trainers, have unrealistic expectations that we put on you and say, hey, I want to change the shoes because let's say, I'll give an example. It's a hunter and I want lighter shoes, or I'm a dressage rider, I want heavier so I have a little bit more action. What does that do to the horse? But also, what does it do to your ethics and morals? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
If it's too crazy, I'll just be honest with you. I won't do it. Yeah. I look at the horse's overall well-being before I get too crazy with a lot of that stuff. It's the biggest mistake that we make, all of us as a whole, is in the back of our little heads, we've got a picture of an ideal horse. And we try to compare or recreate every single horse to that ideal horse that's in the back of our head. And a lot of times it actually just makes it worse. Instead of looking at that horse as an individual and an individual limb. So if you work with your horse's structure or anatomy, you should have pretty good success. And I'm not saying there's not certain things you have to modify. I mean, like, I do it all the time. But there are certain things that you can change, and then there are certain things that you need to leave as a whole. Like this horse, he has a sheared heel. He's always going to have one. We're not going to change it. He's not going to change it. He can't do it. It's not Magical Tuesday. It's people need to realize that, and especially as the older the horse grows or gets, the harder it is to modify things. I mean, like, usually once those splint bones are sealed, there's nothing you can do about it. So.
Awesome. And then I think one last question I think people need to know is how magical you are, right? So for look at his face, is that farriers can actually tell us if a horse is going to develop like laminitis, or let's say there's a change in their diet. They can tell us before the trainer knows, before the owner knows, before the vet knows. You agree, right? And so that's where it's really important as a farrier, I think, that you have a voice. You know, and are able to give that feedback to me.
It comes down to that common decency thing again. And having an education is everything, in my opinion. Because, I mean, like, you wouldn't hire a mechanic that can't tell you what a spark plug is, right?
But how would I know? Like, let's be honest, like, as a newbie horse person,
do your research. That's the luck of the draw. I shouldn't say the luck of the draw.
I agree.
Get on the American Farriers Journal, or American Farriers page, and look up. There's a deal on there, a link where you can find a farrier for your state, or your region, and that will tell you where all your CFs and all your certified journeyman farriers are, and that'll give you a really good start. I mean, like, that's a really good group of people, because they're going above and beyond. I mean, like, the worst thing about my trade, it's a free enterprise. The worst thing about my trade, or the best thing about my trade, is it's a free enterprise.
I feel the same way, because as a trainer, I put my shingle out, and what gave me the knowledge was the experience.
Right. And, you know, and it's so frustrating, because you have somebody that actually puts forth an effort, and then you have somebody out there that's just trying to make beer money.
Exactly.
Right? They lame a horse, or they do something completely wrong, and then that client comes to you, and now they have a doubt in the back of their mind, thinking because of their previous experience, and they're going to pull that or
put it on you. Yeah.
And you have to turn that around. Yeah. And it's not fair.
Yeah, I agree. So I think that's actually valuable information as you're searching for a farrier. Do your research, do your due diligence. And what is that organization called?
American Farriers Association.
Google it. No excuse, people. Look it up. And then what is the best way to contact you? Is it through email, texting?
For me, it's usually texting or calling.
And
I check my email. I should check it more.
yeah,
but you know, it just gets to that point where you have 5 different ways of communicating, and it's just like try to narrow it down,
and just
so
do it.
that way you're not watching everything at once and catching nothing.
Yeah,
it's just hard to keep up with, and I mean, like, and have a little decency when it comes to that too. Don't text at like 2:00 in the morning or Christmas Eve or Valentine's Day, or you know what I'm trying to say, or any holidays. I mean, like, I understand that it's on your brain and you just want to get it out there, but still, when your horseshoer, your trainer, or your vet is trying to enjoy their family, enjoy their time off, and you're nagging on them. I shouldn't say nagging.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
Trying to communicate with them. That's the last thing they want to
be a
about.
little sensitive. Yeah, that's the other thing I didn't touch on. Sorry, guys. Last thing. So how does the scheduling work? Is it the barn owner? Is it preferred that you're in a barn so it's multiple people? Like, do you want to go out to, the sticks for one person for a trim?
No, it's not cost effective.
Yeah.
I mean, like, when you're first starting your business, I totally understand. Everybody has to start somewhere. It's taken me almost 20 years it's taken me 20 years. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that.
I know. I'm sorry.
But, to get to the point where I'm at, and I have apprentices that come and go through my truck, and they see the things in the places I'm at. But what they kind of forget is that it's taken me 20 years to get to this point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, I have a 3-horse minimum. I will not go unless there's at least 3 horses to work on, because it takes you an hour to get there, an hour to get back, and then it takes you, if you have 1 horse, it takes you a half an hour to trim that horse, if that. Yeah. So I mean, like, there's 2.5 hours of your day.
And your education. You guys have to remember, when you're complaining about the farrier's rates, you're paying for his education and his experience. And that's a big deal. Me personally, I would rather pay for Aaron's knowledge than the guy that shows up and has no knowledge. So just remember, it's not only his time. When you sit there and go, well, it only took him so long to do this. Also remember what you're paying for. His time to get there, his time away from other obligations he has, and his knowledge. Well, so
it's taken me 20 years to get to that.
That's huge.
You know what I'm saying?
I totally understand. That's why I was like, I'm coming up with more thoughts on what to talk about.
Yeah,
so
no, it's just one of those deals. And the other thing is that people also need to realize is that 90% of us have clocked in and clocked out. What people hand you and what you take home are 2 completely different things. So when you do hand your farrier or your trainer a check or your vet a check, just remember, not all that's going to their pocket.
Oh yeah, a lot. Supplies, gas,
100%.
all of it.
If you get a third of that, you're doing good.
And the last thing I forgot about, let's say it's not going well, right? Mm-hmm. We have a problem, whatever that is. Mm-hmm. What is the best, should I communicate with you before I fire you, or should I just disappear?
Yes. No. Communication is beautiful. It's don't, like I said, just tell me to my face. Yeah. It's.
You want the feedback.
Right. Because I mean, like, if you don't get that feedback, then how are you going to fix it? So I mean, like, you're going to make that same mistake and you're going to take it to the next barn.
Yep.
And then the same thing's going to happen and you're going to take it to the next barn and to the next barn, just because nobody wants to bring that up to you.
And it's not going to hurt your feelings to have a constructive conversation. I think that's also what's really important. Instead of just avoiding your farrier, not paying your farrier, just give them a call and say, hey, can we meet 5 minutes of your time? Let's just have a quick conversation. And he wants to know. He actually cares about your horse. It's not just, come and go. He actually cares. Right. We develop relationships with our clients over time. He actually cares about his clients. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really important to hear. And so offer him the courtesy and respect to say why you're not unhappy. And that's okay. It's okay to disagree and to part ways. Right. That's totally fine.
Yeah. And it's just everything that we do is temporary. And I totally understand that. Mm-hmm. It just because, I mean, like, you think about it, horses move, people sell horses, people get out of horses, you know, they want to try somebody else. I mean, like there's
Injuries.
so many, right, there's so many different factors.
Yep.
I mean, like everything is temporary. But if you're unhappy with the service, you need to talk about it. It's the only way things are going to get fixed.
And improve. And why are we doing this? For the horse. It's all to benefit the horse. So if we're unhappy, if the farrier is unhappy, the horse is the one who suffers. So that's the whole reason of Barn Besties. So Aaron, do you have anything you want to add? Otherwise, I really want to thank you for your time and honesty to share with everyone and your perspective on what it's like to be a farrier.
Pretty straightforward. I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
It was fun.
Yeah. Right here. Bam! Teamwork. Bye, guys.